Good morning, everyone. My name is Tammy Sadler-Jones. I'm the Assistant City Administrator, and I'd like to call to order the License and Variance Board meeting for Wednesday, October 14th, 2015 at 10:02 a.m. Board members present to my left is Roy Akery, the Fire Chief, and to his left is Scott Stokes, the Director of Public Works. Christiana Craddock is the Executive Assistant to the City Administrator, and she will be taking the official meeting minutes. First item is a public hearing. Privilege License Request LIC 2015-18, Beer and Wine Package 4475 Windy Hill Road, Chevron NLP Incorporated, DBA Chevron NLP, with Rachel Denise Paulus as the applicant. Is Ms. Paulus here? Okay, can you step to the podium? Good morning. For the record, can you state your name and speak into the mic? You can pull it down.
It's Rachel Denise Paulus.
Okay. And Ms. Paulus, have you received a copy of the city's alcohol ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you read it?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree to abide by the ordinance?
I do.
Okay. And what steps do you have in place to make sure that your store does not sell alcohol to underage persons?
I attended training, and then we intend to train all the clerks, which I know the city of Smyrna requires them to have permits, so of course to abide, they will. But then we continue to do additional training, and then we will also be having secret shoppers just to stay on top to hopefully, avoid ever having an issue.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Ms. Paulus, can you describe to us your point of sale process? I know that, and I ask because I know that some stores have the capability at point of sale where they're required to enter a date of birth in for alcohol and tobacco sales, that kind
Yes,
of thing.
sir. That's what we have.
You have
Yes,
that?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, it pops up, and it actually won't go through until you enter a date of birth.
What's your role at the store? What's
Sir?
your position at the store?
I'm the manager.
And your hours?
Usually they're from 6 to 4.
What about weekends?
Sunday I don't work, and then Saturday usually from like 7 to noon.
You hold a license anywhere else?
No, sir.
Is this your first license?
No, sir. I've held a license in Newton County, but I don't currently hold one.
And how many other employees besides yourself that work there that would be responsible for selling in any of your products?
It'd be around 3.
Okay. And you do realize that the Smyrna Police Department does undercover sting operations in the
Yes,
city?
ma'am.
And if any of your servers sell to a minor, that they will be taken to jail immediately?
Yes, ma'am. That was explained to me in the training course.
Okay. All right. All right. The Smyrna Police Department did conduct a background investigation that failed to reveal any information that would preclude issuance of this particular license. So with that said, this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. All right. Seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve Privilege License Request LIC 2015-18 Beer and Wine Package 475 Windy Hill Road, Chevron NLP Incorporated, doing business as Chevron NLP, with Rachel Paulus as agent.
Second motion to approve.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve Privilege License Request LIC 2015-18. All in favor, please vote. All right. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item is a public hearing, Variance Request V15042. Allow 2 existing accessory structures in rear yard located at 2108 Kennesaw Way, Smyrna, Georgia, 0.42 acres. Sarah Solis. Is Ms. Solis, okay. Can you step to the podium, please? And for the record, can you please tell us about your variance request?
I'm here to do a little bit of translating for her. English
Okay.
is not.
All right. Well, state her name for the record, please.
Sarah Solis.
Okay. And ask her to explain her variance request.
¿Qué expliques al variance?
Nos regalaron un jacuzzi porque él trabaja en mantenimiento y era algo para la casa solamente para en el verano.
It's just a second accessory structure, which is just like a jacuzzi, and we just did like a gazebo on top of it. And we really didn't know that we had to apply for a variance.
Oh, so it already exists?
Yes.
Okay.
And sir, for the record, could you state your name as well?
Jose Gallegos.
Okay. Gallegos?
Gallegos.
Gallegos. Okay, Mr. Gallegos.
Gallegos.
Do you live at the address as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Who owns the property?
We rent the house, and her name is Maria, or ¿cómo se apellida? We don't clearly know her last name. We just know it's Maria, but we don't own the.
Okay. And then how are you related to the applicant?
She's my mother.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, what was built first? Looking at the pictures, you've got a gazebo-looking thing that apparently houses a hot tub,
Yes.
and then behind it is a
It's a shed.
unfinished something.
We had problems. It's a shed.
So
and
what
we
was
just
there
remodeled
first?
it.
What was there first?
The shed.
And then the gazebo was built.
Yes.
So why does the shed look unfinished and the gazebo look?
We just remodeled it. It was falling apart. It was really old, and we just I guess we put up the new wall, and just we wrapped it. And we haven't gotten to it.
Was the gazebo there?
The gazebo
when y'all took possession of the property.
No.
So nothing was back there.
No, nothing was back there. Just a very old shed. We did use it, but it was just the weather. It was just, it was not a quality shed, so we just remodeled it by ourselves.
Is the property owner aware of?
We had
of what's going on here?
Yes.
Okay.
We had her kind of like this signature and everything. We had
what?
We had to try to get signatures out for the variance. We had applied for it. So it was our neighbors in the county in the line thing. So we had to either send envelopes that they're our neighbors, and we had to go through a variance application. So
what's the owner's opinion of all this?
She said it was fine as long as if we do move out, we either can leave it or take it with us. We had to tear everything apart once we don't rent the house no more.
And that would be the gazebo with the hot tub. But
yeah, just the gazebo.
But they wouldn't want you to take the
yeah, the shed. They were like, that's on you. We would. The shed was there. Okay. It's on you if we remodel it. Okay. We don't want you to tear it back down.
Okay.
And kind of just for the sake of understanding and clarification, whenever somebody comes before this panel to request a variance to an ordinance, we have ordinances in place that these are kind of the rules that we play by, but yet there are ways that we can vary from those, but with some specific factors involved. And with regard to this type of a variance request, there are 4 essential standards that this board has to kind of consider and weigh. Okay, and I'm not going to read all of them, but just to kind of give you an idea, we have to consider whether or not that there are unique and special circumstances or extraordinary and exceptional conditions that apply to the property in question that would cause you to need this variance. And I think secondly, and most importantly, whether there is a hardship. So in other words, you would need to have this variance because if you don't, it would create this certain unacceptable hardship to you, right? So can you, having said that, can you describe to this board a specific hardship or an extraordinary or exceptional condition that would lead us to believe that you just absolutely have to have both of these structures the way they are now?
Hey, Roy, before he does that, can you give him a minute to translate to her what you just said?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Dice que ahorita lo que tenemos que explicar es si no tienes esta estructura, o sea, lo tienes que explicar por qué de verdad la necesitas.
La necesito porque tengo una niña de 8 años que me pide salir a las albercas. Yo no tengo el dinero suficiente para pagarla. Y es algo que mi esposo trabaja tanto y es algo para relajarnos y estar en casa. Se nos dio la oportunidad de que nos los vendieron barato o nos los regalaron, no sé qué dijiste. Es por eso que lo tenemos.
Well, we do have 2 children. We invested in the jacuzzi and the gazebo and everything. We don't really have the money to go out, white waters everything, take them out a lot. They're really not the age that we want to take them out now. So we got the jacuzzi, just for a summer accessory, and just to keep the kids.
Se ahorra agua y porque lo mantenemos en rotación, lo que es solamente el verano que vamos empezando.
She said, we do everything with the like the pool. We have chemicals to run it, save water. We don't fill it up every time we use it.
Okay, but it could be that if configured in a different way, because really the issue is having 2 separate structures in the backyard. It is at least arguable that you could have the same thing that you have now, hypothetically, if the hot tub structure were connected to the original first structure, then it would only be 1 structure instead of 2, and you could still have the same thing.
Oh, okay.
That's just, an example of really my opinion. I'm probably going to have a hard time supporting the variance, to be honest with you, because I really don't see a significant hardship. Now, I don't want to, and nobody on this board wants to create any kind of a situation for any resident in the city of Smyrna. But in my mind, you could have what you have now configured in a different way, where we're only 1 structure instead of 2 separate.
Have you guys considered doing something like that, or is this the first time you've heard this recommendation?
It's the first time we did. If we would have known that, we would have, taken care of it, asked for more time to, join it as with the other structure.
Do you think that's something your mother would consider?
La necesidad que lo tengamos, pero dice que si lo podemos juntar con la structure ya sería uno.
Sí lo pensamos así cuando nos fue a decir
She said, yeah, it's a good idea. It's the very first time we heard that option, and we can take it into consideration.
And there may be other, acceptable options as well. And I'm sure that city staff would be available to answer any questions that you may have. That's just one idea.
Nosotros no sabíamos que pasar eso, no fue algo que lo hicimos voluntariamente.
Yeah. We can take that into consideration. She was like, she didn't really know ways we could, have that.
Okay.
Bob Thorne, would you like to make any comments from the staff perspective? Okay, all right. You all can have a seat right in the first row. The first row.
Rather than going through the analysis, I'll go straight to staff comments. The applicant is requesting to deviate from the city's accessory structure requirements governed by Section 501 of the city zoning ordinance. According to Section 1403 of the zoning ordinance, variances must be reviewed under specific standards as been previously presented. After review of the application and ordinance, community development believes a hardship cited by the applicant is self-inflicted. Compliance with the code presents no hardship that prevents the use of the property. Based on these conditions, community development recommends denial of the request for the second storage accessory structure.
So you're okay with the jacuzzi, hot tub, but not the storage?
Either one.
Either one. Okay.
If it were one,
One, as
it
long
could
as it's one of them
comply.
and not
Correct.
both of them.
Right.
Okay.
But it's the two structures.
Right. Okay. If we
May I add something else to this? I'm looking for my sheet. Bear with me.
okay.
The basic requirement for an accessory structure also includes that it be constructed similar to the primary building or structure. Both of these structures are not. Similar materials, paint, architecture, etc.
Okay. Any questions for the staff? Well, I guess for the applicant, can you step up to the podium, please? I mean, I would have to agree with Chief Acree that based upon the ordinance, I would not be able to support your variance request. But what we could possibly do is table this if you would like to work with our staff to see about changing, your structure from 2 to 1, your request. Is that something that your mother would be interested in doing?
Sé que no te puede aceptar la variance de los dos, pero que si podemos trabajar, que si quieres hacerlo uno.
Pegado al storage. Porque se ha hecho poco a poco y es dinero.
She agreed. We can try to work it out with the one structure. Yeah, because we already invested a little bit of money in it. And
Ask the attorney. Is with this item being on the agenda, is it possible for us to table it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The board can defer a final decision.
Okay.
If the applicants were insisting on having a decision.
Okay.
Then I think although if there are unusual circumstances, you could still table it in that case. But
Okay.
in this one, it'd be perfectly appropriate to table it to a later meeting of the board.
Okay. All right. So my question to you is, would you like for us to table it or would you like for us to take action on it?
What would be the difference? Table it and
Well, table, you can continue to work with the staff and, try to see if you can work things out. But if we have to take action today on it, then, based upon the conversations, it may not be approved with the two structures.
yeah, I mean we know will be a hard time with the two structures, so we want to see if we can. Is there another option we can take for it?
Okay. All
Well,
right.
and I think it's important also to note that either way, having these two structures for these reasons doesn't really create a significant real hardship for your family. It might be an inconvenience, but it might not necessarily be a hardship. So whether it's tabled or whether we take some type of action on it, I think that the consensus would be that we're willing to work with you and staff would be willing to work with you to try to figure out how to have what you have now without having two separate structures. And in addition to that, have the single structure be painted and built in accordance where it matches the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that regardless, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, this is a public hearing. If anyone else would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. And we have somebody coming up that'd like to speak. And for the record, can you please state your name?
My name's Joan Green. I live next door.
Okay.
I've lived in my home for 33 years. My son, which is 38 years old, helped to put up the original shed that was on that property. He was around 8 or 9 years old helping to pour concrete. It was an eyesore. It was all falling down. It was worse looking back there with the old shed compared to what they put up. They put it up in one weekend, the new shed, because they needed storage facility. The man does odd jobs. He has tools that he has out there. They have chairs. The property is clean. They put up the gazebo first as a little stage for their daughter to have a birthday party in. They bought the little hot tub they put in there. The children get in there and play. They put screening. They put screening around it to keep the bugs out so it didn't bite the children. And then all of a sudden, it's an eyesore. The property is maintained. They're very nice people. They do not bother anybody. It's not like before when we had drug dealers in there. So many drive-by shootings occurred in that house. I know the history of the property. It's maintained. Everything's done in there that's proper. And he's put up a couple little swings for his children and his grandchildren. And they're family-oriented. And I don't see why they're getting such a hassle. Because I believe the people that might have caused the problem shouldn't even have anything to say about it because their property across from where they live is despicable.
Could you tell me your last name again?
Pardon me?
Could you tell me your last name again?
Joan Green.
Ms. Green, I appreciate your comments. And part of our package that we can have on the screen here are pictures, pictures of all variance requests that we see. And
the shed that they built was smaller than the one that was there.
Well, we can see that the condition of the property, and I don't think the condition of the property is even in question here. We can see, we have pictures that what you just said is absolutely accurate. It is well kept and well maintained. That's not really the issue.
I know,
the
I
issue
understand
is the
that.
compliance to the ordinance that
I
does not
understand
allow
that.
two separate structures. And believe me, we're kind of bending over backwards here
I
because we don't
understand.
want to create any inconvenience for
understand.
anybody, but people do have to follow ordinances.
Yeah, I
So,
understand
I
that.
appreciate your
but I wanted
comments.
you to know, that I know that he's probably not done finishing the little shed that they built for their
Right.
lawn stuff, the lawnmower, this, that, and the other, because he's out there all the time doing something. So I know he'll probably bring that up when they get a little bit more money to put into it.
That's
And like I said,
understandable.
it looks a heck of a lot better than that old metal building all rusted with a tarp over the top of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll just add that if the board decides to table this matter, Ms. Green's comments are in the record, and so she doesn't have to come back at some later time and say the same thing again. The board members are perfectly capable of taking into account her comments and rendering a final decision.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to deny variance request V15-042, allowing 2 accessory structures in the rear yard at 2108 Kennesaw Way, and that the applicant work with community development to determine how to comply with the city ordinance.
Second motion.
It's been motioned and properly second that we deny variance request V15042, allow 2 existing accessory structures in rear yard located at 2108 Kennesaw Way, Smyrna, Georgia, 0.42.
Sadler Jones, could I have a little sidebar with the board for a minute?
Sure.
So it's the same.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
All in favor, please vote. Motion passes 2-1. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15043, allow reduction of required. Wait. Okay. Hey, pardon me, Jeffrey. I want to make sure that they know that they can appeal the board's decision to the mayor and council, and that you have 10 days to request an appeal in writing to our city clerk's office. So I want to make sure that you know your rights in regards to an appeal.
I'll repeat that for you out here.
Okay, thank you. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15043, allow reduction of required rear yard setback located at 1001 Vinings Falls Drive, Smyrna, Georgia, 30080, 1.37 acres. David Gillon is the applicant. Can you step to the podium? And just for the record, your setback request is from 45 to 32 feet?
That's correct.
Okay, and state your name, please.
David Gillen.
Okay, and you can tell us about your variance request.
Yeah, I'm with the board of Vinings Glen Homeowners Association, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
And we have a pool tennis court area in our subdivision, and there's currently no play area for little kids, and we've had change in our demographics of our subdivision. A lot of small children moved in, about 25 to 30, that would benefit, we feel, from establishing a small play area with a play set, play nation type structure, which we submitted to community development for drawings for the start over. Okay. So basically, we drew out a plan for the area and selected a play set which would be, we felt, most beneficial for our residents. Have a lot of little kids now running and playing the street due to the change in demographics there. We have a sister Vinings Glen Homeowners Association on the other side of Ridge Road, and at the time theirs was built, they did establish a play area. So basically, the set that we like to place on the site, when you lay it out, hangs over the setback about 13 feet. to accommodate the slide. So we basically notified all the adjacent property owners within our subdivision that, saddle up to the site, and there's a wooden fence that surrounds the whole property in that area, and we notified the homeowners behind there. And so that's basically it. It's the way it's laid out. That's the only way it would work due to the existing drainage on the site. And we request a variance so we can move forward with construction.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? No? All right.
You're aware that there's also a water main in that drainage easement.
There's a water main there?
There's a water main that comes from the subdivision behind you that feeds the back part of your neighborhood. So just keep in mind that when whoever builds this thing, they call in the 811 number for locates, because we actually have a water main that runs behind your pool area and then alongside it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. At this time, we'll have the staff, Bob Thorne, make a comment, please.
Thank you. The applicant, the applicant is requesting to deviate from the rear yard setback of 45 feet designated by the conditional zoning of this parcel within the R15 zoning district. This request will allow the construction of a community play area and play structure for the residents of the Vinings Glen subdivision. The applicant states that the proposed area is the only feasible location for this use on our lot. The minimum the minimum setbacks are based upon the R15 zoning district along with the conditional zoning requirements established for this parcel. According to section 1403 of the zoning ordinance, variances must be reviewed under specific standards, whether there are unique and specific or extraordinary circumstances applying to the property, whether any alleged hardship is created by any person having an interest in the property, whether strict application of the relevant provisions of the code would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the property, and whether the variance proposed is the minimum variance needed. Community Development has reviewed the variance request against the review standards and limited usable area site constraint. Community Development recommends approval of a variance to allow the reduction of the rear yard setback from 45 feet to 32 feet with the following conditions. 1. Improvements by the owner shall not alter the planned or designed conditions of any easements located within the parcel. 2. Improvements placed within any drainage easement remains the exclusive responsibility of the owner. Should damage occur, repair and or replacement of improvements will be at the owner's expense. 3. The site shall be developed in accordance with the site plan submitted.
Okay. Any questions for the staff? All right. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak regarding this issue, I ask that you please step to the podium at this time. Seeing no one, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Gillen, before I make the motion, have you been made aware of the 3 conditions that was just read by staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you in agreement with those, with compliance of those conditions?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So specifically with this variance, I do see a hardship, and that is the relative safety of the applicant's children. So having said that, I'm going to make a motion to approve variance request V15-043 to allow the reduction of the required rear yard setback from 45 feet to 32 feet located at 1001 Vinings Falls Drive, Smyrna, Georgia 30880 at 1.37 acre for the applicant David Gillen, with the 3 conditions as read into record by city staff.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve variance request V15042. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next item is a public hearing, variance request V15044, allow reduction of the city's 50-foot undisturbed stream buffer setback and 25 feet impervious area buffer, 0.49 acres, 3353 Dunn Street, Dewey, Downey, and Samantha Surlis. And it's my understanding that the applicant has requested that this item be withdrawn. Okay, all right. You have any other comments to make about this one? Okay, all right. I'd like to entertain a motion, please, that we approve the withdrawal without prejudice.
Make a motion to withdraw variance request V15-044. It was for the allowance of a reduction of the city's 50-foot undisturbed stream buffer and 25-foot impervious stream buffer, 0.49 acres, 3353 Dunn Street. This motion is made to withdraw without prejudice.
Second motion.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve the withdrawn item V15044 without prejudice. All in favor, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is appeal of the denial of an alcohol permit for Barbara Begovic, okay. Yes.
Yeah, if you'll come up, and Marla too. Let's have the procedure here is I'm going to swear both of you in,
okay,
and then we'll take some questions from Marla from the police department, and then some from you. Okay.
Sure.
So if you'll both raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. If you'll sit down for just a minute. So thank you, Ms. Sadler-Jones. So
state your name for the record, Mr. Tucker.
I'm Jeffrey Tucker, the city attorney's office. And so, Ms. Gerber, if you will state your name for the record.
Marla Gerber, permit officer.
Permit officer with the Smyrna Police Department, correct?
Yes.
So part of the procedure when someone applies for an alcohol servers permit here in the city of Smyrna is they fill out an application, and as part of the application, they consent to have the police run their criminal background. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So Barbara Begovic submitted an application, looks like in August, and you, with her permission, ran her criminal background. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on her application, this will be up here, the applicant is required to list if they have been arrested or convicted for any sorts of crimes within the last 5 years. How many arrests or convictions did she list on her application?
2.
And what was the approximate date and the charge on the first of them?
December of 2012, serving a minor in Hiram, Georgia.
And what was the disposition on
Guilty.
that? So what the applicant disclosed was a guilty plea on that charge. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And then what was the other of the charges that she disclosed herself?
Possession of a controlled substance in 2013 through Atlanta PD.
And what was the disposition she stated on her?
Guilty.
Okay. And so then she had stated those, and then you actually ran her record through the GCIC system. Is that correct? And let me call your attention to cycle 7, which is the second of the things that she had disclosed. What was the charge in that case?
Possession of a Schedule 1 controlled substance.
Which was what?
Heroin.
And that was charged as a misdemeanor or a felony?
It's felony.
Okay. But do you show any disposition?
No, there was no disposition.
There's no disposition listed on that. Okay. I don't have any more questions for Ms. Gerber. If the board does, we'll take them. Okay. Thank you. All right. If you'll, can you step up?
Sure.
All right. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Barbara Begovic.
And spell Begovic, please.
B-E-G-O-V as in Victor, I-C-H.
Okay. Thank you. And I always start this way. Was there anything that Ms. Gerber stated or that I asked her that was incorrect or that you want to clarify for the board?
Not at all.
Okay. And so, because, let me ask a couple of simple questions. You are applying for a server's permit for serving alcoholic beverages at Varner's Restaurant here in Smyrna. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain for the board the circumstances under which you were charged and pleaded guilty to serving alcohol to a minor in what I assume, but you can clarify this, what I assume was a similar type of serving environment?
Sure. Yeah. The only difference.
And state right in there so that it gets recorded.
The only difference was I was bartending at the time. It was a sting operation. It was the only time in 20 years of serving that I have made the mistake. No excuse. The gentleman looked like a construction worker. He certainly looked old enough. He ordered a Miller Lite. I served him. I neglected to ask for his ID. And he stated that his wife was having a baby. He didn't want the beer. He was going to leave. And the police came in, gave me a ticket. I went to court and should have gotten a lawyer, but I didn't. And so I just pled guilty and paid the fine. And I did want to add that I have been to an appeal process through Cobb County and was able to get my alcohol permit through Cobb County. I had a previous job at Mexico, Lindo, and Mableton. And I know that Smyrna's in Cobb County. However, they have their own requirements. So I just wanted to say that I've gone through the appeal at Cobb County and was permitted.
Okay, that's fine. And then as to the second charge, just because the record doesn't show a disposition on that,
Correct.
On your statement you said you pleaded guilty.
I did.
What did you plead guilty to? But just because that doesn't show up in our record.
Right, and that was a very strange thing too, because when I went to get I'm sorry to keep talking about it, but when I went for the appeal in Cobb County, I actually went back to Atlanta and got the disposition because they didn't have one back then. What happened in the courtroom, I had relapsed. It was an act of God. I didn't get to use. I was actually caught by the police before I was able to do anything. I went to court for it, and the judge said, basically he said, I'm tired of taxpayers paying money for people on probation. It's your problem. It's your issue. Get out of my court. So I left. I went running. I had no fine. I guess I didn't get a disposition. The public attorney at the time, or my public defendant, told me I was looking at probably 5 years probation, possibly some prison time, and the judge said, "Get out of here. Get out of my face."
But you've never received any sort of formal disposition on this?
The only time I did was when I had to go back to Atlanta to get my disposition in paper. I didn't go in front of a court. I went into some sort of, I guess, like a clerk who gave me the disposition, which I'm assuming it was guilty, and I brought it back to Cobb County.
But guilty with no penalty at all?
No penalty,
Okay.
no probation, no fine, no paperwork. I just hightailed it out of there. The public defender was surprised.
City of Atlanta court's pretty busy with things.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
That's pretty much what it was.
And would it also be fair to say that it's not the most efficient system in the world?
It was efficient for me.
Okay. I don't have any more questions
Ms.
for Ms.
Begovich,
Begovich.
while we're kind of on this topic, and just for really my own clarification.
Yes, sir.
So just back to Atlanta. Okay, so you're standing in front of the judge.
Yes.
Were you read your charge?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that charge as you remember it?
Possession of Schedule 1 narcotic and paraphernalia, possibly. I think that's how it was.
And when were those charges read to you as a misdemeanor or a felony?
A felony, from what I can recall. It was 3 years ago, but yeah, a felony.
And did the judge ask you to enter a plea?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that plea?
Guilty.
Okay.
I was guilty.
And after that, the judge basically just said, "I'm tired of this, just get out."
Pretty much, yes. Said, I remember him specifically talking about taxpayers' money and it being my problem. And I think I signed a piece of paper with my public defendant, and I left. I just didn't want to give him the opportunity to change his mind.
Okay. Well, that's just confusing. You know,
I
and
agree.
you could see how that's confusing.
I was very surprised.
All right. So, how long have you worked at Varner's?
I applied in. It was probably the same week that I applied for the permit.
Okay. So you mentioned that through your testimony, you've mentioned that you've had these things happen to you,
Right.
and since then, you've gone to apply for an alcohol service permit in Cobb County.
Correct.
And they were able to give you that, even with these things that we're contemplating today. Is that
Correct.
right?
I had to go back to Hiram and get my disposition. I went to Atlanta and got my disposition and brought it all back.
Okay.
Which is odd that it's not in the system even after I requested the disposition.
So you did that for a job in Cobb County,
Yes,
not
sir.
in the city of Smyrna,
Right.
When was that? A year or 2 years ago?
Over 2 years, probably about 3 years
Okay.
ago, and I had the job for 2 years.
Okay. So what's led you? So you've gone through these legal issues, and you were able to obtain a service permit in Cobb County.
Correct.
And that was a year or two ago, something like that. So what's led you here? What happened to the job in Cobb?
Okay, so I stopped working at Mableton. I got a better job opportunity at a doctor's office here in Smyrna. I'm working, helping out with Dr. Weinberg, and it's just not enough. So I needed a second job. I have a vacation coming up. I wanted to save some money, and so as a second job, I went to Varner's, thinking that because it was in Cobb County, I would have no problem getting my alcohol permit, and it came back denied because I had to go to Smyrna. And that's pretty much basically it.
So is your permit still current or active?
In Cobb County?
Yes.
I believe that it needs to be renewed every year, so there's a chance that it has expired.
Okay.
I don't know the exact dates of when I started that job in November or December of 2013, or December of 2012, so it went into 2013. And that would be November of 2012 to November 2013. Then I renewed it for another year, so it was probably good until 13 to 14, December of 2014.
Okay.
So, and again, I'm back to the, it's different but similar. I'm struggling with kind of a hardship. You have the ability to serve alcohol in Cobb County.
Yes.
Or at least you've proven that you can obtain that ability.
Correct.
So, just for the sake of discussion, you could have this additional income or second job or whatever it is in Cobb County.
Sure. If I found I believe there's other places in Cobb County that are similar to Smyrna. I think Austell, you have to go through the city of Austell for an alcohol permit. The thing is that Varner's is right down the block from Dr. Weinberg's office, which is on South Cobb, and Varner's is on Concord. So sometimes I'll just leave work and go right to my second job, which is right down the. And I've learned their system and everything. I really like working there. They really enjoy me. I have plenty of food service experience, so they really want to keep me. And that's why they've given me this amount of time. I was supposed to come before y'all at an earlier point, but there was some reason that it got postponed. And
so, if this board's going to contemplate this, and just on paper, we're seeing this. It wasn't yesterday, but it was relatively recent. The middle of 2013, a couple of years ago, granted. But it's a pretty significant charge that by your own testimony you've not denied, and by your own testimony that you've pled guilty to, regardless of what the judge said.
Correct.
So you can see, I'm sure, any concerns, that we may have.
Absolutely.
So can you talk to us about what you're doing or what you have done to keep yourself off that track?
Well, that incident itself was very it was major for me. I just felt like it was a sign. I felt like it was a sign from God. The fact that I was caught when I was caught, it was the police officer prevented me from relapsing, and then going to court and having the judge state that, this is your problem, you need to take care of it. Since then, I've just really dug into I haven't been going to meetings recently, but I did when it happened. I have a really strong support network with my parents, my partner, and I let everybody know, even the doctor. He knows what my situation is. I just stay away from it. I just really have decided that I'm 41 years old. I'm not a kid anymore, and I've been given chances, and I don't want to ruin it. And like you said, I do have other means of surviving. It's not like this job is going to break me, but I do enjoy it. They do like the way that I work. I feel like I have a strong work ethic. I try my hardest. And I've learned from the serving minor incident, it doesn't matter what they look like. I will ID everyone.
Let me just clarify. Who's the doctor you work for?
Dr. Weinberg.
And
it's not full-time. It's just part-time. I help him at the front desk.
But this is a medical professional who knows that you have had substance abuse problems. Is that correct?
He's not. There's no medicine in the. He's a chiropractor. He's not a medical doctor. He's not an MD. I'm sorry. So there's no drugs in the office. We don't deal with any prescriptions, anything like that.
Okay.
At all.
What do you currently do at Varner's?
Waitress.
And you said they what is their practice on trying to keep sales to minors to a minimum or to stop it at all?
Well, we have there's a wall in between the restaurant. There's a bar area and there's a restaurant area. No one under 21 is even allowed in the bar area. If anyone in the dining area orders beer, it's a beer place. We ID them. We ID everyone, no matter what they look like. And Varner's has a policy: if you serve a minor, you will be fired, and chances are you will get arrested. They do have people coming in undercover at times, just to check and make sure people are IDing. We don't serve if the ID is expired. We don't serve if the ID, even if the person is 21, but they still have the side-facing ID and they haven't renewed it, we cannot serve them. So it's kind of have to go strictly by the rules. It upsets people at times. They're 21, but if they're, like I said, if it's expired or says under 21, then I just can't serve them.
What the incident in Hiram, Georgia? What restaurant was that?
That was at Taki. It's a Japanese sushi restaurant.
And I think in your testimony you had mentioned, you made a comment like in my 20 years of so how long have you been in a capacity professionally to serve alcohol?
Oh gosh, I started at 18 at the legal age. I worked in restaurants before then, like busgirl, hostess, from about 17 to 19. I think I got my first bartending job at 19. I went to bartending school when I was 19 back in New Jersey.
And the incident in Hiram was the only incident?
Yes,
okay.
Unfortunately.
Well, just kind of for the record and really more so for your own personal, I can promise you that that the city of Smyrna is much more strict and does compliance checks much more often than Hiram, Paulding County, Cobb County, Austell, any other city. It's a regular thing that happens to ensure, and it's that way because the city leaders have prioritized the responsible sale of alcohol up near the top.
Right.
So I just mentioned that in the event that today or even any time in the future you were to get the opportunity to continue in that profession, it sounds like that it was a single incident in many years of service, and I believe that.
Yeah.
And I would just hope that you know that and keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think I got lazy, pretty complacent, and thought that I knew that I could assume that he was of age, and now I realize how serious it really is. I mean, we even go so far as you're supposed to ID people every time they come in. Even if you were there yesterday and I saw your ID yesterday, you're always supposed to have your ID on you when you drink. And so I've got to, ask every time. And I really do understand the severity of it.
Now, Hiram, what did Hiram do? Just write you a ticket?
Yeah.
Well,
just wrote me a ticket.
Keep in mind here, I promise you'll go to jail.
We've been told.
Even tell the agents and make them aware that if any of their servers sell alcohol, that they will go to jail immediately.
It is mentioned when we have a what they call, we get there 15 minutes before, and we have a lineup, and they mention it regularly. If you get caught in a sting operation, you will be arrested that night. There's nothing we can do about it. You'll lose your job, and then it's all on you. So.
Any other comments for us?
No, ma'am.
Any other questions for? All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the appeal of the denial of alcohol permit for Barbara Begovich. Item number C, I apologize, 3E 215-311.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve the alcohol permit for Barbara Begovich.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Please make us proud.
Thank you so much. I will.
Okay.
Thank you. I do have a question. I'll be notified when I go for the appeal, or is this the last?
This is the appeal.
They approved your server permit.
Oh, thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
Get your permit.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
So I should go back and to City Hall and get
Well, to the police department, just talk to Marla.
the permit office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not there right now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Next item is appeal of the denial of an alcohol permit for Ajin Jamil King.
All right. Ms. Gerber is still under oath, so let me swear Mr. King here. If you'll raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you give in this matter should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. King. If you'll have a seat for just a second. And, all right. Marla, if you'll step back up here. Ms. Gerber is still sworn for purposes of our hearing today. And we've gone through what she does at the police department. About a month ago, did you receive an application for a server permit from, is it Ajin? For Ajin King.
Yes, I did.
And he filled out the same form as other applicants and consented to have you run his criminal background check. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on his application, did he disclose any arrests or convictions of any crimes within the last 5 years?
Yes, he did.
And when was that, and what was it?
He wrote down it was June of 2014. It was possession through Cobb County, and he received probation.
And so that's what he wrote down. And so when you ran him through GCIC, had he accurately disclosed that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And so what's shown on there? What was he charged with, and what sort of disposition did he get?
He was charged with felony possession of cocaine, and he was put on a conditional discharge program pending with probation of 3 years.
So and what was the date of disposition on that? I think it's January of 2015.
Yeah, January 8th, 2015.
And so he has what the report shows, to clarify, is he has 3 years of probation that began to run in January of this year, so will run for 3 years until January of 2018. It's a conditional discharge, meaning at the end of probation, the way these things work is this is what people call first offender status. So he'll get a discharge of the charge if he successfully completes his probation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't have any more questions for Ms. Gerber. Does the board? Okay. So, Mr. King, if you'll step up here. And just like with the other applicant, was there anything she said or that I've said that's incorrect?
No, sir.
Okay. So you're currently on probation here in Cobb County for your charge, but your understanding is you complete your probation over a period of a couple of years. You got to report in, and stay clean, and all that. But at the end of that, they'll wipe the board clean for you. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. So where are you employed right now?
I'm at Red Lobster and Fresh to Order in Cumberland Mall.
Okay, and but what you're applying for is an alcohol server permit for Red Lobster. Is that correct? Okay, and
renewal. I've been there for 3 years, but it got
what
denied.
step?
I've been there for 3 years. It got denied because of my probation. Last month on September the 11th, I went to the police department to try to renew it, and I was denied.
So you had already had a City of Smyrna alcohol service permit before.
Yes,
Is that correct? Okay. I don't have any more questions for Mr. King. We'll take them from the board.
Mr. King, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So you've been on probation since roughly January of this year.
Yes, sir.
Right. So what are some of the things that you have to do when you're on probation? Mr. Tucker mentioned that probably you have to check in at some point. So how do they? And he also mentioned that you have to commit through your probationary period to stay clean.
Yes, sir.
So how do they ensure that anyone in your situation is not still using?
Well, every second full week of the month, I have to call and check in, and then I go down for random drug tests, anything like that. Anytime the probation officer wants to see me in that shape, form, or fashion, I'm subject to any kind of search and seizure, compliance. So that's how
And have you been subject yet to a random drug screen?
Twice, yes, sir.
Twice so far, and then I'm assuming that there were no issues with that.
No, sir.
Okay, because you'd probably be in jail.
I would be standing there.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Okay. And you mentioned that you've been at Red Lobster for 3 years now, and that you, before this situation, you had a service permit.
Yes, sir.
So in that time that you had a service permit, had you ever been in a situation where you got caught serving alcohol to minors?
No, sir.
Okay.
You do understand that we do sting operations at Red Lobster also?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We just had a server lost her job a few months ago for that.
Right, and I'm sure Mr. King understands that if he got tagged on that would itself violate his probation.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
What procedures does Red Lobster have to prohibit the sale of alcohol to minors?
All the bartenders are subject to search anybody coming there to drink. As servers, that we're supposed to actually see everyone's ID. If you're born on or before 1994, then also shows us on the screen when we try to swipe it in. It's kind of like a warning, a heads up to let us know that if this person's not, then you're not able to do anything, like serve them any alcohol. So I would just keep that in mind. Just, do the math in my head. I don't just judge people just they look old or they look old enough. Like I have to see it. So I don't lose my job. So
you have to swipe what on the screen?
It's like a card that we put in. We swipe the card, and pretty much based off the date that they whatever their ID says. So like I said, anything on or before 1994, that'll let us know. Like just to make sure you pay attention to that date. Because if you don't, and you still give them alcohol anyways, you can be in trouble.
The swipe card that you're talking about is something that you have as an employee, and you have to swipe it in order to create a sale. Is that correct? To sell alcohol, you have to swipe your.
It's kind of like a reminder. Like, is this person kind of give you that final reminder? We get it from the staff. It's like a reminder. It's like heads up before you put in anything. Is this person 21 years of age?
So the patron orders their meal or drink or whatever, and before you actually hand it to them, you're swiping something to verify that.
I'm looking at the ID as soon as they ask for it, right at the table.
Or at the table, but
yes,
before you hand them that drink, you're doing something to double check that. Is that how that works, or is it?
No, well, I mean, it's the date that's on the computer. It's just like a reminder. It's really all it is. It's not really a card that we swipe. It's just like a reminder, just saying, hey, this person it's like a question. Is this person legal enough to drink? It's pretty much all it is. So we can't go any further. I don't go any further past the ID, saying, can I see your ID? Once they ask for the alcoholic drink, if they're, legal of age, then I bring the drink in.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would it be safe to assume that pretty much your practice would be that you would pretty much just card anybody? Don't take any chances.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all. We offend some people, but I mean, it's my job.
Just like in the last time, I know that you were sitting in the back in the other one. And so you heard all the things that were said. So just like in the last time, can you explain to this board, everybody makes mistakes. Okay, so it appears as though through your probation you're in this situation where you can't really make any other mistakes. They do random this and random that, and you're subject to it at any time.
Yes, sir.
And you've got this opportunity to have this first offender status and kind of have the slate wiped clean, and I would assume you wouldn't want to do anything. But so can you talk to us about your support structure that you have to help you, things that you've done to ensure that you don't kind of travel down that path again?
I have the support of my mother, my girlfriend. I have 2 children that I'm raising. They're pretty much all the support I need just to try to stay on track. I still keep in contact with my pastor back home in Sacramento, California. Just doing things like that, just staying away from certain crowds and people that led me to the trouble I got into last summer. Doing things like that, obviously staying away from drugs and alcohol of all kind. Just working, just trying to raise and support my family. That's pretty much it.
Any other comments for this board? Closing comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
In reference to item 3F 2015-344, I move to approve the appeal of the denial alcohol permit for Asian Jamil King.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve the alcohol permit for Asian Jamil King. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. And as I stated to the previous applicant, please make us proud.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is approval of the September 23rd, 2015 License and Variance Board meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve September 23rd, 2015 License and Variance Board meeting minutes.
Second.
It's been motioned and properly second that we approve the September 23rd, 2015 License and Variance Board meeting minutes. All in favor, please vote. All right, motion passes unanimously, and I'd like to declare this meeting adjourned at 11:09 a.m. Thank you.